The first thing people noticed when the ambulance doors opened wasn't the patient. It was the nurse standing beside the stretcher, trying to hide a tear-stained face behind a professional smile while her worn-out sneakers squeaked against the polished hospital floor. 3 hours later, that same nurse would stand in front of a mirror holding a navy blue gala invitation in trembling hands, whispering 7 words that broke her heart. "I can't afford this dress." Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists, and subscribe to Kindness Hub. If you believe compassion can change someone's life and that everyone deserves a second chance, let us know where you're watching from. Morning sunlight spilled across the emergency department windows as Sienna Mercer adjusted her scrubs for the 3rd time that hour. The pale blue fabric had faded from hundreds of washes, and one pocket had been carefully stitched by hand after it tore during a chaotic night shift 6 months earlier. At 31, Sienna had learned to stretch every dollar further than she ever imagined possible. She worked 12-hour shifts as a registered nurse at Brookhaven Medical Center, picked up extra weekends whenever she could, and still found herself calculating whether she could afford fresh fruit that week or if canned vegetables would have to do again. Most of her paycheck disappeared before it even reached her account. There was rent for the small apartment she shared with her grandmother, utility bills that seemed to climb every month, and prescription costs for the woman who had raised her after her parents died in a car accident when she was 12. Her grandmother, Ruth, had spent decades caring for everyone around her. Now arthritis twisted her hands and limited her mobility, leaving Sienna to return the love she had received her entire life. She never complained. At least not out loud. The hospital became her second home, a place where she could forget her own struggles by helping others survive theirs. Patients remembered her because she stayed an extra few minutes after her shift ended. Families remembered her because she explained difficult medical terms in gentle, understandable ways. Children remembered her because she carried stickers in her pockets. What nobody remembered was when she last bought something for herself. Late one Tuesday morning, the emergency room doors burst open as paramedics wheeled in an older man experiencing severe chest pain. Sienna moved instinctively. Her hands remained steady as monitors were attached and medications prepared. She spoke calmly to the frightened patient while coordinating with the medical team. Standing near the doorway was a tall man in a charcoal suit, his expression caught somewhere between fear and helplessness. His name was Callum Hayes. Sienna recognized him immediately. Nearly everyone in the city did. He was the founder of Hayes Construction Group, one of the largest development companies in the state. Local magazines featured him regularly, usually describing his business success, charitable donations, and recent appearance on lists of influential entrepreneurs. But in that moment, he wasn't a successful businessman. He was simply a worried son. For hours, Sienna checked on Callum's father between patients, offering updates whenever she could. She noticed how he thanked every staff member individually. She noticed how he sat beside his father's bed instead of answering the endless calls lighting up his phone. Most importantly, she noticed the relief in his eyes when doctors confirmed his father would recover. As her shift finally ended, Sienna gathered her things quietly. Before she could leave, someone called her name. Callum stood near the nurse's station holding a small paper coffee cup. He thanked her for caring for his father with such kindness. Sienna smiled politely, accepted the coffee, and thought that would be the end of it. Instead, 3 weeks later, an elegant envelope arrived at the hospital addressed to her. Inside was an invitation to the annual Hayes Foundation Gala. The event raised money for healthcare scholarships and emergency assistance programs. At the bottom of the invitation was a handwritten note. Callum explained that his father insisted she attend because nurses like her deserved to be celebrated. Sienna read the note twice. Then she folded it carefully and placed it inside her locker. She knew immediately she couldn't go. The gala would be held at the city's most luxurious hotel. Guests would wear designer gowns and tailored suits. Her bank account barely covered necessities. A formal dress wasn't simply expensive. It was impossible. That evening, she showed the invitation to her grandmother. Ruth's eyes sparkled with excitement. She insisted Sienna deserved one evening away from work and responsibility. Sienna forced a smile. She didn't mention the overdue electricity bill sitting unopened on the kitchen counter. The next morning, she declined the invitation through email, thanking the foundation for the honor while explaining she had a scheduling conflict. An hour later, her phone rang. It was Callum. He apologized for calling unexpectedly and asked if everything was all right. Sienna hesitated. Pride told her to repeat the excuse. Exhaustion told her the truth. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. She admitted she couldn't afford a dress suitable for an event like that. Silence lingered for a moment. Then Callum said something she would never forget. He told her she should wear her scrubs. At first, she thought he was joking. But he explained that the gala existed to honor people who dedicated their lives to helping others. No designer gown could represent her story better than the uniform she wore every day. He said the guests didn't need another glamorous photograph. They needed a reminder of what real service looked like. Sienna thanked him politely, assuming he was simply being kind. There was no way she could actually do it. The thought of entering a ballroom full of wealthy strangers in faded hospital scrubs made her stomach twist with anxiety. For days, she avoided making a decision. Then she arrived at work on Friday morning to find flowers waiting at the nurse's station. Attached was a note from Callum's father. He wrote that people spend their lives chasing recognition, while people like Sienna spend their lives giving it away. He hoped she would attend. Something shifted inside her as she read those words. Not confidence exactly, but courage. The night of the gala arrived bright and warm. Golden afternoon sunlight reflected off downtown windows as Sienna stood in front of her apartment mirror. She had ironed her cleanest pair of scrubs carefully. Her grandmother adjusted the collar with trembling hands. There was pride in Ruth's eyes that made Sienna's doubts feel smaller. When she arrived at the hotel, luxury surrounded her. Elegant dresses shimmered beneath crystal chandeliers. Expensive watches flashed beneath soft lighting. Conversations paused as she entered. Heat rushed to her face. For one terrifying moment, she considered turning around. Then she saw Callum waiting near the entrance. Instead of surprise or embarrassment, he smiled. Not the polite smile people use at networking events. A genuine one. He walked beside her into the ballroom as if she belonged there as much as anyone else. Because she did. Throughout the evening, something unexpected happened. People approached her. Doctors thanked her for difficult shifts they had shared years earlier. Former patients recognized her. One woman explained that Sienna had held her hand after a frightening diagnosis when no one else could stay. A young paramedic admitted he became a first responder because nurses like her inspired him. Near the end of the evening, Callum stepped onto the stage. The room quieted. He spoke about leadership, success, and the importance of investing in communities. Then he spoke about healthcare workers. He described how people often celebrate wealth while overlooking those who quietly save lives every day. He invited Sienna to join him. Her hands shook as she walked to the stage. Standing beneath bright lights, wearing simple blue scrubs among hundreds of elegantly dressed guests, she felt more exposed than ever before. Then she looked into the crowd. She saw her grandmother smiling proudly. She saw Callum's father applauding. She saw tears in the eyes of nurses seated together near the back. And she realized something important. The value of a person cannot be measured by what they wear. It is measured by the lives they touch. That evening, the foundation announced a new initiative providing financial support, mental health resources, and emergency grants for healthcare workers facing hardship. The program would be named after frontline caregivers who dedicated their lives to others. Sienna stood speechless as Callum revealed she would help lead the initiative. Months later, hundreds of nurses received assistance through the program. Some avoided eviction. Others paid for childcare, medical expenses, or continuing education. Sienna remained exactly who she had always been. She still carried stickers in her pockets. She still stayed late when families needed comfort. She still wore scrubs more often than anything else in her closet. But now she understood that accepting kindness isn't weakness. Sometimes it allows kindness to reach even more people. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is let others see their struggles instead of hiding them. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that dignity has nothing to do with money, and subscribe to Kindness Hub for more stories that restore faith in humanity. Special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness sees beyond appearances," if you believe every hardworking person deserves respect regardless of what they wear. As the gala ended and guests slowly drifted home, Sienna stepped outside into the cool evening air. The city lights sparkled around her, but her favorite sight was her grandmother waiting near the entrance. Ruth wrapped her arms around her granddaughter and whispered that she had never looked more beautiful. Not because of a dress. Not because of applause. But because she finally saw herself the way everyone else always had. As someone extraordinary. And sometimes, all it takes to change a life is one person willing to say, "Come exactly as you are." Because the world doesn't need more perfect appearances. It needs more people brave enough to show their hearts.